regular meeting of the Board of Estimate and Apportionment. Today is Wednesday, October 15, 2014. Madam Secretary, will you please call the roll?
Mayor Slade.
Present.
Comptroller Green. Here. President Reed.
Here. Items presented for the first time. Item number 1, request for the Controller's Office for approval of contracts and leases for various city departments is listed on Exhibit A. Item 2, request from the Controller's Office for approval of intra-departmental and interdepartmental transfers from various city departments as listed on Exhibit B. Item 3, request from the Controller's Office for approval of transfers between projects for capital improvement funds listed on Exhibit C. Item 4, request from the Director of Airports for approval to destroy the miscellaneous airport accounting materials, management, and police department records listed on the list. Item 5, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 143. This ordinance authorizes an 8th supplemental appropriation of $519,300 from the Airport Development Fund for the payment of costs for work and services authorized therein. This ordinance contains an emergency clause. Item 6, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 144. This ordinance authorizes and establishes a public works and improvement program entitled Emergency Building and Environs Project at Lambert St. Louis International Airport. The emergency CIP project list is listed in detail in Exhibit A. This ordinance contains an emergency clause. Item 7, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 145. This ordinance authorizes a supplemental appropriation of the city's fiscal 2014-15 budget of $1,078,022 from the Airport Development Fund to pay for current expenses at Lambert St. Louis International Airport as listed on Exhibit 1. This ordinance contains an emergency clause. Item 8, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 146. This ordinance authorizes an emergency transfer of funds from the DSSF to the Airport Development Fund to be used for emergency repairs. At Lambert St. Louis International Airport, the emergency repair and replace projects are listed in Exhibit A. This ordinance contains an emergency clause. Item 9, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 147. This ordinance establishes and authorizes a public works and improvement program entitled Airfield Building and Environs Project at St. Louis. Lambert St. Louis International Airport. The fiscal year 2015 project equipment list is listed in detail in Exhibit A. This ordinance contains a severability clause and an emergency clause. Item 10, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 148. This ordinance authorizes and directs the Director of Airports and the Controller to enter into and execute on behalf of the city an agreement and contract of sale with North Park Partners LLC. This ordinance contains a severability clause and an emergency clause. Item 11, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 149. This ordinance authorizes and directs the Director of Airports and the Controller to enter into and execute a dual customs agreement with Brownsville International Air Cargo Incorporated at Lambert St. Louis International Airport. This ordinance contains a severability clause. Item 12, request from the Director of Airports for approval of Board Bill number 150. This ordinance authorizes and directs the Director of Airports and the Controller to enter into and execute 7-passenger vehicle rental concession agreements at Lambert St. Louis International Airport. This ordinance contains an emergency clause. Item 13, request from the Executive Director, Community Development Administration for approval of Board Bill number unknown. This ordinance authorizes the Mayor to submit an annual action plan to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development for the 2015 Community Development Block Grant, $16,785,704. Home Investment Partnership, $1,989,326. Emergency Shelter Grant, $1,322,776. And Housing Opportunities for Persons with AIDS, $1,337,668, and appropriating a total of $21,435,474 for said programs. That's the extent of the items presented for the first time. Do we have any additions, corrections, or deletions?
I should have introduced this now.
We can go ahead and, why don't we go ahead and take the items presented here, and then we'll take some new business and we'll additional items as we finish this. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion relative to the items 1 through 13.
So moved.
Been moved and seconded. As I'll take that as a motion to approve items number 1 through 13 as printed. In a second, any discussion? If there's no discussion, we'll take a vote. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? The ayes have it. Unanimously approved. Items 1 through 13. At this point, we will I'll recognize the Controller for additional items the Board may wish to discuss.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. At this time, I would like to introduce a resolution at the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, and I would like my colleagues to come together on this resolution. As I read it, it says, whereas the public safety of the citizens of the City of St. Louis is a high priority during this time of unrest, and whereas the Board of Estimate and Apportionment agrees to meet the public safety needs of the citizens, and whereas the citizens deserve to know that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment are in agreement with the plan, that the plan will include body cameras for police and a civilian oversight board. And whereas the will of government is sometimes slow, this extraordinary step today is intended to set aside politics. And therefore be resolved, the Board of Estimate and Apportionment, being fully aware of the recent unrest in the St. Louis metropolitan area, will adopt a plan of action. And at this time, Mr. Mayor, I would entertain any discussion around this subject of meeting the needs of our citizens with their public safety needs. We have an opportunity as a board, the body that has the budget authority here, to talk and come in agreement that funding is definitely needed for body cameras, if that is this direction that we want to go in to further protect not only our citizens, but we're protecting our police as well. And so we, at this time, it's an extraordinary step for the Board of Estimate and Apportionment to do a resolution, but I think it's really important that we all agree, go forward without politics, because as we begin to discuss funding mechanisms and tools that we have, one of them is going to include most likely a general obligation bond. A lot of discussion has surrounded that we need to take a giant step back and look at just the dire needs of all departments when it comes to public safety, as well as the needs for the public safety issues that's at hand right now.
Okay, would you want to make a motion?
I would like a motion that we would adopt this resolution on behalf of our citizens, that the Board of Estimate and Apportionment adopts this resolution.
Right. Madam Controller makes a motion, we adopt the resolution, public safety resolution that she has just presented. Do we have a second?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any further discussion? If there are no further discussion, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Unanimously approved. Resolution public safety has been adopted.
Thank you,
Right.
guys.
Thank you
I
so
appreciate
much.
it.
No,
Thank you.
All right. If there's nothing further to be brought before this body, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor indicate by saying aye. Aye. Ayes have it. Motion carried. Meeting adjourned.
Thank you.